Okay, so this is my review of the 75mm throttle body for the 2006 Nissan Maxima. This is from NWP Engineering. It's not the first product I get from these guys, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what we got here. Alright. Cool, keychain. Alright, looks like we have the plate here. So the plate, I'll get that out later. This is the adapter cable. Some of the screws, gaskets. Cool little logo. And we got instructions. Step-by-step instructions on how to do this. Very cool. Looks like a description. This is good for the 2003 to 2006 350Zs, Infiniti G35, Ultima, Maxima, other Infinitis, other different Nissans. Here's the their other thermal kit that they have as well. I already installed this in my car and it's working well. Some decals. Alright. Let's open this bad boy up. Do not touch throttle body plates. Okay? And there we have it. Tachi, and in Japan. Alright, so what we want to do next, I want to compare this to the one I have, the stock one from the car. We'll take a look at the difference. Alright, to get started, to get to our throttle body, we're going to have to remove the strut bar. Obviously this is an aftermarket bar, so you may not have to do this step. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to remove the negative terminal on the battery. The next thing we'll do is remove this mass airflow sensor. There are two screws here that I've already loosened up. And we're just going to set this one to the side. Make sure not to mess with that or touch it. Next we'll get this breather hose. And we'll loosen this here to get this whole intake off. Then you have 4 screws here. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to get those off so we can get the throttle body off. Alright, so the screws are out. there's one connector here that we need to remove. So in order to remove this connector here, you need to push down on here and then pull it out. And there we have the stock one. Now I'm curious to see how much bigger the new one's going to be. Okay, so I have in my hand the new one and the original. As you guys can see, it's quite a difference. Okay, so I'm measuring the inner diameter of the original one, the OEM one, and that's reading about 71 millimeters. Let's take a look at the new one. And this is the side that goes up against the intake manifold. And I'm getting 75.4. 71, 75. And if we flip it on the other side, we can see that this almost fits. The old one almost fits inside of the new one. So in this case, I'm going to be installing this adapter plate that's going to go up against the intake manifold. It's a 1/4 inch. This is also sold by NWP. See if I can show you. That's going to go right here, and then you have this other plate. This is the one for the throttle body that goes up against that, like that. And then you got these screws, pretty much go in there, like that. There are four of them. You screw these onto the throttle, through the intake manifold, and then on top of that is where you have the throttle body. It's gonna go like this, using these other 4 screws, like that, like that. Yeah, this kind of screws like that, and that's all there's to it. So I have here some RTV, basically a black RTV gasket maker. I'm gonna put that around here to create a good seal. I'm gonna put it up against this plate here, this manifold. Alright, so the adapter plates are on there, along with the spacer. Just gotta make sure that this logo, NWP logo, is facing up, and then you gotta tighten these screws here. It says make sure not to over tighten, and just use between 5 and 7 foot-pounds of torque. Alright, so next we have this gasket that goes between the adapter plate and the throttle body. I'll put that like that. I'm going to mount it. On the it says here, the instructions say that on the 05 to 06 Altima and 04 to 06 Maxima, the throttle body needs to be, or these coolant lines needs to be pointing up like that, because we don't have enough clearance to install them the proper way. This valve here, EGR valve, gets in the way. So it's supposed to go like that, but I'm gonna have to put it in like that so that I can get enough clearance. The new throttle body is in place. I tighten all of the screws here, 4 of them, and as I mentioned, I had to put it in pretty much upside down. You have these coolant lines here, which the stock one does not have. Not sure what I'm going to do with those. I guess they're just going to stay like that. I'm just going to leave that plug in like that. Here's the stock one. As you can see, it does not have those lines. Comparison of the two. Now I'm gonna do is attach this intake and the master flow sensor and this line here, and then we should be good to go. Before we put it back together, can't forget about this connector here, which needs to go here. This is the plug from the car. Plug that in, and then the other end is going to hook up to the throttle body connector right there. So let's do that, and that's what it looks like once it's hooked up. Very simple, and just make sure that you keep this harness under this intake and not over it. And for those of you who are wondering about this AM cold air intake, this end here measures 78.5 millimeters roughly, and it's just about the same size as the intake side of the new throttle body. This throttle body here also measures 79, let's see, measures almost 80 millimeters. Remember that the side that I measured was the one that's going into the upper intake. This side here, that's the one that measures 75 millimeters, and that's the one that I guess the manufacturer goes by, 75 millimeters, and almost 80 on this side here. So this should be good to go here. I was concerned that this would be a little too small, but it should be fine. Alright, so it's all back together now, as you can see. It says here that the coolant lines do not need to be connected for the 350Z and G35 Maxima and Ultima, because as you can see here, it says that they already exist behind the throttle body, so we don't have to worry about these lines here. I'm just going to leave them plugged. Alright, let's take a listen how she sounds with the new throttle body. Take a look at the idle and see if it's any different. Once it's warmed up, it should settle around 800. So far so good. If for some reason the car is idling pretty high, they do give you instructions on how to pretty much reset your throttle body. There's a sequence of steps you have to follow. So hopefully I won't have to do that. Take it for a test drive later and see how she does.